This is the video for Unit 7, Day 2, and today we're going to be working with dividing with decimals. So I'm sure in your previous math classes you've done division before and worked with remainders, and now we're going to figure out what can we do to get the exact answer in the form of having a number with decimals. Today's video is dedicated to Omar in 6C. Hello, Omar. Alright, let's check out our steps. So if we're trying to solve 10 divided by 8, step number 1 says set up the standard algorithm and divide normally. So what it means by standard algorithm is when you have the number that's being divided into, which is 10, so we'll set that up here, divided by 8. So we'll have 8 on this outside. And then we're going to start to divide normally. So first I look, can 8 go into 1? It can't. So then I go out one place further. Can 8 go into 10? Yes, it can. It can go in once. So I'll put a 1 here. And then I multiply this number here, 1 times the number here, which is 8. And then I subtract that number from 10 to see how much I have left over. And 10 minus 8 is 2. And now here, it didn't divide evenly and I have this remainder of 2. So now what I can do to keep on dividing, step number 2, it says if you have a remainder, add a decimal to the number you are dividing into and add a 0. So 10 is the number that we're dividing into. I'm going to add a decimal right here and then add a 0. The reason why I can make this move and why this still makes sense math-wise is because 10 is equal to 10.0, right? Which is also equal to 10.00. And I can just keep adding as many zeros I want after this decimal, and it's always going to be equal to 10. So we've added this extra 0 after the decimal, and I have to pay very close attention to where the decimal is, because I'm going to bring the decimal also upstairs, right here, and put my decimal there also in my answer. All right, so then I can bring down the 0 that I added, and now I have 20, and I think to myself, can 8 go into 20? In this case, it can, and I think, okay, 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, okay, so it has to be 8 times 2, which is 16, so I'll do 2 here, and 2 times 8 is 16, so I'll subtract 16 here. 6 into the 0 gives me 4. Right? Cancel this 2, turn it into a 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, so I just have 4 left over. And now I still have a remainder, so that means I have to keep dividing. So I can extend out my little bracket here, and I can add another 0, right? Because I can add as many zeros as I need to until I can divide evenly. Bring this 0 down that I just added, and now I have 40 down here. And I think to myself, can 8 go into 40? Yes, it can. 8 times 5, right? And 5 times 8 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. I have divided evenly, I have no remainders left, and now I have my final answer. So 10 divided by 8 is 1.25, or 1 25/100ths. Alright, let's do one more together. I'll start the first few steps for you, and then you're going to finish it more on your own. Number 1 says, write 7/20 as a decimal. Now before we start this one, I actually want to bring us back to in your packets on page 2, right? This is what your work looks something like from page 2. right? You had 3 members, and you were splitting 11 pieces of licorice among your 3 team members. So you split it up, you drew the diagram, and then you came out with each person got 3 2/3 pieces of licorice. So your mathematical sentence was 11 divided by 3 equals 3 2/3. And the next part asks you, what is 3 2/3 as an improper fraction? Well, you do 3 times 3 plus 2, that gives you 11, and 11 over 3. So what you just did is you figured out that 11 divided by 3 equals 11 thirds, or 11 over 3. So that's why 11 divided by 3 is the same thing as 11 over 3, just like that. So now let's go back here. 7 over 20 as a decimal is the same thing as the numerator, which is 7, divided by the denominator, which is 20. Okay, so now we can figure out from here. First you check 20. Can 20 go into 7? It can't, because 7's too small. So we have to do our little trick where we can add a decimal here, and if we add a decimal there, we also have to add a decimal here, and then we can add a 0. And then I think, okay, now can 20 go into 70? Yes, it can. I think to myself, 20 times 1 is 20, 20 times 2 is 40, 20 times 3 is 60, 20 times 4 is 80, which is too high, so I know it has to be 20 times 3, which is 60. Now that we're at this step together, I think you know enough that you can complete this on your own. So I'm going to pause it right here, and I want you to complete the rest, and then continue the video after you've finished number 1 to check your work. So pause the video now and complete number 1. Okay, now you are resuming the video after you finish number 1, and we're checking our work. So we got to this point where we added the decimal, and we figured 20 goes into 70, gives us 3, and we multiply. 3 times 20 is 60, so we'll subtract 60 here, and then 0 here. 6 minus 7 is 1. Okay, so that's my remainder. And then I can add another 0 here, bring that down to here, and then I think to myself, how many times can 20 go into 100? So if you're not sure and you're dividing with zeros, what you can do is you can take the zeros away of both numbers. Right? Now I'm just looking at 2 and 10, and that's much easier. How many times can 2 go into 10? 5 times. Okay? 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Voila. 100 divided by 100 equals 0. No remainder left. 0.35 is our answer. And we can add in a 0 before this decimal, and it stays the same. 0.35 is what 7 over 20 is as a decimal. Now that we've done this together, your job first is to finish page 3. And actually, before you finish page 3, I actually want you to do this first. Put your computer away. Bring your packet and your computer back to the cart to Mr. Yen so that he can check your work. Then you're going to finish page 3. And today I also want you to continue practicing and then finish page 4. That is what you have to have done before you leave class today. Good luck.